Hi there. What's your name, sweetie? My name is Susan Boyle. Okay. And who do you want to be as famous as? Over the years, Britain's Got Talent has created some amazing singers, but none as legendary as Susan Boyle. Back in 2009, this 47-year-old woman amazed the judges with a really beautiful performance that people still remember today. More than 10 years later, we can't help but wonder how this ambitious singer is doing now. So let's take a look at what really happened to Susan Boyle. Without a doubt, that was the biggest surprise I've had in 3 years on this show. Unlike many popular artists, Susan hasn't had an easy life at all. Actually, she was bullied most of her childhood because she has autism, though back then people thought it was brain damage. People believed this because when Susan was born, she didn't get enough oxygen for a long time. Of course, we know she was almost 50 when she decided to try out for Britain's Got Talent. She sang, "I Dreamed a Dream" from Les Miserables, and it left everyone in the room completely shocked. But did you know she's always loved music? She had tried out and sent demos to many other shows before BGT to show off her amazing talent. But sadly, she got rejected from almost all of them. Her choice to enter the 3rd season of the show was because her late mother wanted her to. At that time, she was unemployed, living alone with her cat Pebbles, and doing volunteer work for several groups. But we can imagine, and even she would admit, it was all worth it since getting that standing ovation completely changed her music career. Over 100 million people watched her audition online in just a few days after it was posted. But even with all this attention, she came in 2nd place in the final competition, losing to a dance group called Diversity. But that didn't stop her from signing with a huge record company and giving us hit songs like A Wonderful World. Her first album became one of the UK's best-selling albums ever. If you're curious, Susan is still signed to Simon Cowell's record label Psycho, the same company that made musical stars like One Direction and Little Mix, just to name a few. Now 60 years old, the artist has put out 8 albums in the last 11 years and has traveled the world performing. Most recently, she finished her 10 tour in the UK when the pandemic had us all stuck in our homes for almost 2 years. But don't worry, Susan is more excited than ever to start touring again. The shy Scottish singer we saw way back on Britain's Got Talent is long gone. Today, Susan Boyle seems to have total confidence in her talent. Susan Boyle's story has touched so many people over the years, and yet we haven't heard much from her after the pandemic. So far, all we know is that she had to cancel her 10 tour halfway through and stay home because she was more likely to get sick from the virus. This is because she has type 2 diabetes, and even if that wasn't the case, having concerts while a pandemic was going on would be way too hard to manage. And believe it or not, Susan has no plans to retire anytime soon. After all, she did say she wanted to copy Elaine Paige and sing until she was 70. At her audition, this included giggles from the audience, and many people even ignored her. That is, as we all remember, until she started singing. One of the things Susan did recently was announce a return on Instagram to all her followers in November 2021. The message said Susan is back on the TV. Catch a cameo on BBC River City on Monday, along with an adorable picture of Susan holding a clapboard with the rest of the cast behind her. This was an especially nice post, since around this time in 2022, there were rumors that she would end up doing regular shows in Las Vegas, but that turned out to be fake news. Along with inspiring people not to give up on their dreams and talents, no matter how hopeless the future might seem, the now 60-year-old is doing great in the same town she grew up in. Actually, the singer still lives in her family home in Blackburn, West Lothian, back in Scotland. In 2022, her net worth is easily guessed to be around $40 million US. And you might be wondering what she's done with all that money she's earned recently. Irish. Mirror featured the artist as she showed off her childhood home after it was fixed up. And that also explained her kind of long break after the pandemic. Despite living in the same house for over 60 years and being rich enough to buy many other houses wherever she wants, the star chose to redo her childhood home because of all the memories it holds. She said that it has to do with the memories of your house and your childhood. Simply put, to her, understanding and figuring out where her true roots are was a big part of why she originally wanted to keep the place. And you would not believe us when we tell you that the first thing Susan did with her very first paycheck was buy the council house from her childhood, so she could keep living in the same house she grew up in. When showing off the dressing room, she talked a bit about her family, too. She remembered how there was history connected to the house. The council house is thought to have cost her a big £110,000, which, looking back, seems like a small price to pay for keeping those memories. Also, when you have millions of dollars available, we'd guess it wouldn't be a big money worry either. She said that she thought it was best to stay grounded and connected to your roots. Being familiar with her own past has apparently even stopped her from saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. The singer, despite becoming famous almost overnight, apparently hasn't changed much, and that's clear from the way she recently redecorated her home. The house has furniture that's modern and classy, all while also showing lots of Jesus Christ decorations right in the piano room. Her faith seems extremely important to her, as a picture of her and the Pope is also hung on a wall next to pictures of her with her parents. While a lot of her family has died, Susan continues to make them proud in a house that shows just how important all of them were to her. While the artist isn't married and has devoted herself completely to her career, you can clearly see bits of nostalgia scattered around her house, making it seem cozy and at the same time reminding you of her superstar status. She once told Piers Morgan that she lives off a modest £300 to £500 weekly allowance to keep her going. In the past, she's talked about a few things besides her house that she spent money on, and the list is charmingly short. She spent her large amount of wealth on a fur coat, a bike, a piano, and some driving lessons. Female singers are often not taken seriously as artists if they're overweight or aren't considered attractive. This year, Susan Boyle hasn't announced any new music, but has still been part of news stories and has been getting attention her way. That's because the stunning musician has apparently lost a crazy amount of weight since the last time we saw her, an estimated 50 pounds. Apparently, she's been on a weight loss journey. The singer has been bullied about her weight since her childhood, but it wasn't until she was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes that she started to live a healthier lifestyle. Such a diagnosis would be a wake-up call for most people, and it seems like Susan was no different. Apparently, she's talked about exactly how she started living healthier, and there are 3 parts to it. The first was to eat healthier. Removing sugar from your diet is no easy task. But if the other option is high blood pressure and almost dying, we'd imagine it would be doable. In an interview with the Mirror, Susan said that she needed to stop eating sweets and cakes. "It's the bane of my life," she said. She also started working out and taking Garcinia cambogia supplements, which apparently reduce appetite and burn. Fact, and we have to admire the fact that she lost weight for herself and to make the most of her life, something she wouldn't have been able to do with her weight being what it was at the time of her diagnosis. She said that she didn't care about the way she looked or her image in public, which is impressive considering how many people are watching her dot. It's easy to think that she's done making her mark on the world given how much she's achieved in such a short time. But as it stands, Susan seems to be nowhere near close to retirement, and that's something to be really grateful about.